Hey everyone, let's just dive right into this explainer and uncover the totally hidden, complex contracts that actually keep our whole industrial civilization moving. When we look out at the ocean and spot those massive cargo ships on the horizon, it is so easy to just see a giant floating metal box. But beneath the surface, there's this fascinating, incredibly high-stakes legal and logistical dance going on.
You probably know that cargo moves across the ocean, right? But today, we're going to explore exactly how the business of renting these massive ships actually works. Think about it. If you have a literal mountain of coal, or maybe thousands of tons of grain, you can't exactly just drop it in the mail. You have to hire a ship. But who owns that ship? Who's paying for the fuel? And what on earth happens if there's a delay? The answers to these questions are literally the backbone of global trade.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the global trade engine, then compare liners versus tramps and define the types of charter contracts. From there, we'll navigate the specifics of a voyage charter, look at how time charters work, and wrap the whole thing up with the main charter markets.
Okay, Section 1, the global trade engine.
To really understand this stuff, we have to look back and see how steam power completely transformed shipping from this wild speculative gamble into a highly predictable system. Back in the 1870s, technical improvements in steamships meant merchants could finally stick to regular schedules. This was huge because it allowed entire regions to specialize in exporting just a single commodity. Fast forward to the post-World War II era, and these specific leases called bareboat charters became totally instrumental for rebuilding global trade. And today, an absolutely massive proportion of the world's trade is carried by ships where just one single commodity fills up the entire vessel.
Section 2. Liners versus tramps.
To understand how all these commodities move, we really have to split the entire maritime world into two totally distinct modes of ocean traffic. Think of liners as the scheduled city buses of the sea, while tramps are basically roaming taxis. Liners operate on a totally regular, pre-announced schedule between specific nominated ports. And their rates? They're based on set tariffs, so you don't negotiate them individually. Tramp ships, on the other hand, do exactly what it sounds like. They trade everywhere, roaming the open market just searching for cargo. They'll go wherever a bulk commodity like coal or grain needs to be picked up, and their rates are fiercely negotiated based entirely on supply and demand.
Moving to Section 3, types of charter contracts. So when a cargo owner actually needs to hire one of those tramp taxis, they use a highly specific document called a charter party. It's basically the ultimate contract of carriage in the tramp trade. The ship owner agrees to put the ship at the disposal of the charterer, and in exchange, the charterer pays up. If it's for a single voyage, that payment is called freight. If it's for a period of time, it's called hire. And what's wild about these deals is the pressure cooker environment they're made in. Shipbrokers are constantly negotiating these things day and night, almost always under insane time pressure, often wrapping up a massive deal in just a single day.
Now legally, these charter parties fall into two main buckets. The first is the demise, or bareboat charter, and the charterer gets exactly that, a bare boat. They take absolute, full control of the vessel, they have to hire and pay the master and the crew, plus cover all the maintenance and operations. The ship owner literally only pays for the capital costs and the hull insurance. It's exactly like leasing a car, where you have to find your own driver, buy your own gas, and manage the whole vehicle yourself. You see this a lot with financiers who want to invest in ships but don't want to run them, or big oil companies looking to bulk up their fleets.
Section 4. Navigating a voyage charter.
Let's look at the non-demise charters. The absolute most common one is the voyage charter, which operates entirely on a ticking clock. Unlike that bareboat setup, here the ship owner provides the ship fully staffed with the crew. You're hiring the ship to carry cargo from point A to B for that fee called freight, usually calculated per ton. So in this scenario, the ship owner is essentially running an Uber service. They pay all the port charges, the fuel, which they call bunkers in shipping, and they take on all the risks of voyage delays like a bad storm. The charterer, they just bring the cargo.
Now, because the ship owner is eating all those daily running costs, they obviously want the ship loaded and unloaded as fast as humanly possible. So there's a super strict sequence. When the ship arrives, the master officially announces they're ready by tendering a Notice of Readiness, or NOR. Once that's accepted, boom, it kicks off a highly critical period called laytime. Laytime is the strict, agreed-upon window the charterer has to load and discharge the cargo. The clock is officially ticking.
And here's where the money comes in. If things take longer than that allowed laytime, the charterer gets penalized and has to pay the ship owner a hefty fee called demurrage. But hey, what if the charterer is super efficient and finishes early? Then the ship owner actually pays the charterer a reward called dispatch. And here's a fun fact. Dispatch is almost always uniquely calculated at exactly 1/2 of the demurrage rate. Every single hour saved or lost is meticulously tracked to calculate these exact financial penalties and rewards. Time literally is money here.
Section 5. How time charters work. But what if you need to rent a ship for a longer stretch, not just a single point-to-point trip? Enter the time charter. Here, the ship is hired out as a complete, functioning unit for a set period, maybe a month, maybe a whole year. Instead of paying freight per ton, the charterer pays a charter hire based on time, usually right up front. And now the charterer gets to dictate exactly what the vessel does. But what if the ship's engine suddenly dies? Well, the contract has an off-hire clause. If the ship is out of commission due to a mechanical breakdown, you stop paying, or the fee gets prorated.
This totally changes who is responsible for what. The ship owner still keeps the vessel functional and staffed. They handle the repairs, crew wages, their food, which is called victualling, and the insurance. But the charter? They direct where the ship goes and pay for all the operational expenses of those choices. They're covering port expenses, canal dues, and they guy all the fuel, the bunkering. Plus, they pay for the cargo handling, known as stevedoring. It's a real partnership when you break it down.
Section 6. The main charter markets.
Let's step back for a second and look at the actual stuff, the commodities fueling these massive contracts. The charter market is basically split into two main spheres. First, you've got dry bulk. We're talking grains, ores, coal, cement, scrap steel. This is the stuff that literally feeds populations and builds our cities. The second sphere is liquid bulk, then crude oil, petroleum, chemicals. This is the side of the market that absolutely quenches the world's thirst for energy.
And what's really wild is how differently these two markets handle those charter party contracts we just talked about. In the dry bulk trade, you have tons of different charterers, big and small. They use standard forms, sure, but because there are so many players, there is endless, intense haggling over the fine print. Liquid bulk, though, totally different beast. It is completely dominated by massive oil companies. They use their own specific forms, and if you want to do business with them, your room for negotiation is practically zero. They hold all the cards, and you play by their rules.
It really does make you wonder just how fragile the backbone of our global economy actually is. I mean, every single time you see a product on a shelf or pump gas into your car, a ship had to be chartered. A master had to tender a notice of readiness. A laytime clock started ticking. Dispatch or demurrage was calculated down to the minute. Knowing that every ounce of global trade relies on this heavily negotiated, intricate dance, ask yourself, just how vulnerable is our entire supply chain to a single delayed ship? Next time you look out at the ocean, I bet you won't just see metal boxes. You'll see the invisible contracts keeping the whole world afloat.